I couldn't have prayed prayers for them to become the women that they are becoming because I didn't really know to, articulate in particular the things that they're doing and passionate about and all of
Yeah.
those things. And I think if anything, the prayer was around their character and their value system and their confidence
Yeah.
and things like that translate. But they have just, you even say it, we're going to be working for y'all, right? Like
Yeah.
they have far exceeded those things.
Mm-hmm.
But although we planned for it and the fruit of it is here, how do you feel about it now that it's here?
I feel okay. You know what I mean? Because I've had years to just kind of adjust. You know what I mean? And I think about even some of the frustrations, that I had a number of years back. It was me adjusting to the new reality of things. But that's okay. You know what I mean? I think like we talked about in the previous episode about a house being a home, making your house a home, I feel now more resolved to be that home for them.
Yes.
Not only in a physical sense, but in a mental, emotional, spiritual sense. I think us as parents, we have to be able to have healthy dialogue with our children at different levels and stages of their maturity. You know what I mean? So again, the talking at them, you may have been able to do that in one season, but then talking with them, you can do it another season. And then the consultancy parenting thing, that's another season. And then as they start making relationship decisions, then you had to be wise on how to, you know what I mean, be able to speak into them and, all of that.
Welcome to With Love, The Chambers.
Where life, laughter, and lasting lessons meet.
We're The Chambers, a husband and wife navigating faith, family, and everything in between.
Here we share real stories, heartfelt conversations, and a whole lot of love. Because life isn't perfect, but God's grace sure is.
So pull up a seat, grab a cup of coffee, or go ahead and sip that tea, and join us for honest talks, laughs, and the wisdom we're learning along the way. This is With Love, The Chambers.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers is proudly sponsored by the Watts of Power Foundation, where passion and purpose come together to empower the next generation. In the heart of Los Angeles, one foundation is changing the future of education. The Watts of Power Foundation, founded by Dr. Peter Watts Jr., is on a mission to raise up the next generation of Black male educators, building strong teachers, strong families, and strong communities. Through mentorship, housing, and holistic support, Watts of Power is lighting the path toward equity in education. Visit wattsofpowerfoundation.org to learn how you can help power the change. The Watts of Power Foundation, where teaching meets transformation. A big thank you to Watts of Power for supporting this episode of With Love, The Chambers. And now, back to your regularly scheduled show.
Welcome to another With Love Wednesday. I am Jamila Chambers, and I'm here with my very handsome husband, the vision engineer himself, the Dr. Rufus Chambers III. The.
I done got promoted.
Heavy
we
on
got
the.
a V on,
Heavy on the.
on the front. Come on now. Look at that.
And not only am I here with the Rufus Chambers III, I'm here with all of you and so excited to have you join us again. We are back in our home.
Back at the house.
In the conversation
Where would
room.
we rather be?
We are so thrilled to invite you into this space in particular because it has been wonderful to just really engage and literally in our conversation room at home. That is why we have this room.
Trying to put some miles on it.
That's why we have this space in our
That's
home.
right.
We wanted a room in our home that doesn't have a television,
Mhm.
that we can speak and talk and engage in meaningful conversation with our
Absolutely.
visitors. And we just didn't know that all of you would be our visitors. We
That's
didn't
right.
anticipate
That's
that.
right.
But look at God, how he
Absolutely.
works.
Happy to have them. Honored to have
Yes,
them.
yes, for sure. And this particular episode
Hmm.
is so special. There's been so many that have been on the journey with us all year and have been listening week to week, have been viewing
Yes.
the podcast
Yes.
week to week. And as always, we say, y'all tell us what we should talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
We're definitely interested in understanding what you would have us talk about next. And one of the suggested conversation topics
Hmm.
is something that is real time for us, like real spit, real time. So we are just leaning into it
Yeah.
in the moment,
For sure.
which is this preparation.
Mm.
We
Mm.
felt it before we even said
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Mm.
But this preparation for this empty nest season
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Have
we
mercy.
are finding
That's
ourselves
right.
in. By the time this particular podcast airs, our oldest daughter will be 21.
Mm. Mm.
And let me just pause right there.
Yeah.
This number is kind of hitting a little hard, you
For
know.
you? Oh,
Oh, it's
really?
hitting, it's hitting
Oh,
pretty hard.
boy.
And let me explain.
I think you just sentimental
Oh,
about everything now. I don't even know what. Yeah, you said something the other day
totally.
about something hit you.
Totally in my
It
sentimental
was
era.
like, was it homecoming or something?
Yes, yes, we were
Yeah.
visiting some folks in the Bay Area this weekend, and I
No, no,
felt
I was
sentimental
talking
about something.
about
Oh,
homecoming for
homecoming.
yeah, for the
Yes, yes, our
youngest.
youngest went to homecoming and all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And so I'm feeling sentimental and feeling some kind of way about the age our daughters are now,
Mm-hmm.
with our oldest being 21, our youngest being 17.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they were 9 and 5,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember being 9 necessarily.
Mm.
So I don't remember what my life was like at 9. I don't remember my personality when I was 9. I don't
Mm.
remember what I enjoyed when I was 5
Okay.
years old.
Okay.
It is literally just stories friends and family tell.
Yeah.
I might remember a few things from school. I remember being 9 years old and in the fourth grade and transitioning to open school from
Yeah.
Coliseum Elementary. And so that was a big transition. And so I remember
Mm-hmm.
that. But I certainly remember being 21
Mm.
and I remember being 17.
Yeah.
Like I remember
Yeah.
what I liked, what I was into, the
Mm-hmm.
music, the clothes, my thought process, the
Yeah.
meditation of my heart,
Come
all the
on.
things. I remember
Right on magazine. All of
acutely
that.
because it was all a dream.
all of that. All of that. All of that.
When I was 17, it really was Word Up
Yeah. Yeah,
magazine.
that's
Like
what
that
I
really
mean. I'm
was.
like,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
literally a thing in the
Literally a
grocery
thing
store.
at the grocery store in the
That's
checkout next
right.
to the gum and
Come
candy.
on. Come on.
Right on, Word Up,
That's right.
Jet,
That's right.
Essence. Come on,
Flipping them
somebody.
pages.
Flipping them pages. And so I remember those things so acutely. And now that our kids are
Mm-hmm.
those ages,
Yeah.
it really challenges me a little differently just from a parenting standpoint and with this conversation of
Mm-hmm.
transitioning into uh, that empty nest era.
Yeah.
Both of our children are seniors
Mm-hmm.
in school, one a senior in college, one a senior in high school, and they will both be graduating next year. So this is like uncharted territory for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
You spend all these years parenting and like active
Mm-hmm.
parenting and brushing teeth and, bath time and homework and all the things. And then you look up and it's like, huh, these are two young women
Yes.
that will be living their independent lives. And
That's
so,
right.
what say you, RC3, about those things?
Well, there's a lot to say. I think that right now, I mean, you and I are being faced with that reality. I feel
Yes.
like, this has been a slow buildup, over the last probably 5 years plus of just watching this matriculation process happen. And, as though I'm excited, about the lives
Mm-hmm.
that our daughters are trying to create and try to build for themselves, it does kind of redefine the season and the phase that you and I are in, and I remember actually talking with, my therapist about this. It was probably a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about the oldest and just some of the reactions that I was having about this changing terrain. And he just was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, Rufus, this change has been in the making for quite some time. And he was like, your life at one time was defined by this nice, cute foursome, where you had a particular role, you had a particular duty, you had these doting daughters that would listen to you, and everything was very compartmentalized. And now you're going through this transition and you're reacting to it, you're responding to it, emotionally and mentally. So that did kind of help me understand that this empty nest conversation, it's a gradual thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a transitional thing. And it could be like, I'm not mourning, but it can be equated to mourning because you and
Sure.
I know that cute foursome will
Yes.
be no more.
Yes.
There's no more going back,
Yes.
to the pictures standing in front of the Christmas tree at Disneyland
Mm-hmm.
with somebody on top of my shoulders.
Yes.
That day has come to an end. Grateful for the memories, grateful for the pictures and the
Absolutely.
videos and all of that, but now it's a facing reality of, who am I without these little girls that look up to
Mm-hmm.
me in a certain way, and who am I as being Jamila's husband, um, you know, as I want to say first and foremost, but as the main attraction, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like for a season the kids were the main attraction. Our
Absolutely.
schedules were built around them, where we want to live, or we want to be in such a school
Sure.
district, or we want to, make the money so we could do this for the, all of this stuff, right? Was
Absolutely.
really, they were the main attraction. They were the center of attraction, or at least meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And now, we're going into another episode or season, of our sitcom, of
Right.
our television
Right.
series.
Right.
And I feel like, we have both worked hard to get to a potential emptiness. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's another thing is like, and this is something I want to throw out there, is the empty nest a fruit of our labor? You know what I mean? Because some folks know empty nest isn't
Sure.
even an option for whatever
Sure.
reason. You know what I mean? And I mean, my hope and prayer is that our girls will have the option to leave the nest, or if they're here, it's their choice,
Mm-hmm.
not because they can't make it, they can't do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So but I think what my main point is, it's been a gradual recognition, for me. But I guess for you, what was that light bulb moment? Was it an event? Was it a conversation? When were you like, oh my God, this is real? I got to get ready. There's no turning back. What was that moment for you with either of them? And I'm assuming it's going to be the oldest because she's the forerunner.
No, no, actually the empty nest moment was not with the oldest,
Mm,
it was with the youngest.
okay.
And the reason I say that is that even with the oldest, and I was just sharing this like 30 seconds before us starting to film this. I love that we're
Mm,
even talking about this because I
yeah.
was just talking about this. But even with the oldest, there's this, they're going to do it first. It's going to be hard. It's going to
Mm,
be difficult. As
mm-hmm.
parents, we're learning.
Yeah.
It's new to us. And it's, that process of exploration with us as well.
Mm-hmm.
With the second one, that's when it hit me. And so our girls, as I just mentioned, are exactly 4 years apart in
Mm-hmm.
school. One's a senior in college now, one's a
Mm-hmm.
senior in high school. When we had a senior in high school and a senior in middle school, that's when the light bulb went off. And I
Mm.
said, I now know how fast this is.
Yeah.
With your oldest, you feel like everything's gonna be forever. They're gonna be in elementary school
Yeah. Okay.
forever,
Okay.
and
Okay.
they're gonna be, oh, this is such a big deal. I
Yeah.
remember being so stressed out about which elementary school they're gonna go to.
Mm.
Now, with my big age and my big kids, I'm like, elementary. Calm
Yeah.
down, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's true.
And especially that first, because everything is such a new experience. So when our oldest graduated from high school and I had the realization of how fast
Mm-hmm.
that time went by, I started mourning then.
Mm.
That was when I
Wow.
said, even having a freshman in high school
Mm-hmm.
and Willow having 4 more years to go in
You
school,
knew
I knew,
I'm on the clock.
because at that point I knew what the clock was.
Yeah.
I knew that I was on it, and I knew that there was no kind of coming back
Yeah.
from that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that, realization
Yeah.
moment. But you talked about this preparing, we were talking about preparing to transition to the empty nest, and you kind of threw out a statement, and I want you to unpack it a little bit, and I'll give you the context behind it. But you were talking about, is us being in this empty nest season, I'm paraphrasing, phrasing, the
Mm-hmm.
fruit of our
Yeah.
labor? Like,
Yeah.
was this our intent,
Yeah.
from the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we used to always say is that we're not raising
Correct.
children, we are
Correct.
raising adults. And
Absolutely.
so even when they were 2,
Yeah.
we're not raising kids,
Yeah.
we're raising
Yeah.
adults.
Yeah.
You can't jump on that
Yeah.
couch, you can jump
That's
on a
right. That's
trampoline, you can
right.
jump you can
That's
jump
right.
rope, you can jump, but you can't jump on my couch, because
That's
if you
right.
can't do it when you're 22, you can't do it when you're 2, because we're not
Mm-hmm.
raising kids, we're raising adults. Like,
Yeah.
that was always
Yeah.
our posture
Mm-hmm.
with them, even when we got a lot of slack for it.
Mm-hmm.
And we got,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
we
Of
got a
course.
few eyebrows that went up
Of
there, like,
course. Yeah.
maybe y'all
Bring
need
it
to calm
in.
down.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all need to
Yeah. You're
bring it
doing too
in.
much.
Maybe you're doing too much. And we like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. We're good. So part of it is that was by design, but now that it is here,
Mm.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
I'm, as you mentioned, happy for them
Absolutely.
and excited for their futures,
Mm-hmm.
and very proud that, although we might have had those expectations, they exceeded any expectation that I had for them. They have far exceeded really my wildest dreams for them. And a lot of that had to do with, I couldn't have prayed prayers for them to become the women that they are becoming, because I didn't really know to, articulate
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
particular the things that they're doing and passionate about and all of
Yeah.
those things. And I think, if anything, the prayer was around their character and their value system,
Mm-hmm.
and their confidence, and
Yeah.
things like that that translate. But they have just, you even say it, we're gonna be working for y'all, right? Like,
Yeah.
they have far exceeded those things.
Mm-hmm.
But although we planned for it and the fruit of it is here, how do you feel about it now that it's here?
Um, I mean, definitely, amazingly proud of both of them, for how they've positioned themselves to continue. You know what I mean? They're young, but they're certainly on the right track, and they are not afraid to put in work,
Mhm.
to go after, their dreams and passions. So I definitely feel good about that. Um, I feel like because this adjustment has been going on for so many years, I feel okay. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because I've had years to, like, you know what I mean, just kind of adjust. You know what I mean? And I think about even some of the frustrations, that I had a number of years back. It was me adjusting to the new
Mhm.
reality of
Mhm.
things, so I feel like I feel okay. Obviously we don't know where the oldest is going to start her corporate life.
Mhm.
I don't know where the youngest is going to do her undergraduate life. So they could be in different parts of the world, literally,
Mhm.
but that's okay. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I think, like we talked about in the previous episode about a house being a home, making your house a home, I feel now more resolved to be that home for them
Yes.
not only in a physical sense, but in a mental, emotional, spiritual sense. And I'm not trying to get deep, but I realize now wherever they're at, whatever they're pursuing, our presence can represent home. It can represent
Yes.
safety. It can represent reinforcements. It can represent provision, etc. So now it is further embracing this future phase, in their lives. And I don't want to make this entire episode about them, right? Because I feel like, and that's easy as a father and as a mother. That's what we
Yes.
do. It's like, oh well, you know what I
Transition is
mean?
about them. Yeah.
Transition, the transition, but it's kind of like how that leaves me in the wake.
Yes.
We've talked about this. Number one, it's time for us to prioritize our marriage, and that's something that we have became, what do you say, acutely aware
Yes.
of in the
Yes.
last 18 months, and rightfully so. So that is giving me an opportunity to really double down, double click on what's important, what is the priority, with all the passions, with the
Sure.
kids and the corporate and
Sure.
ministry and all that. It's like, well, all that, but what is this thing really about? You know what I mean? So I feel like, that adjustment is critical. You know what I mean? And then, I look over the horizon and I think, you know, the priority is really about embracing this season and being aware of how, our happiness together can be center stage, or can be um, prioritized. You know what I mean? You asked me the other day, like, well, we had the happiness conversation.
Yes.
Like, well, what
Sure.
makes you happy? And, for the audience that doesn't know, my default answer about what makes me happy for the last 20 years literally has
Yes.
been, I want my wife happy, I want my kids happy.
Yep.
What makes you happy? I want my wife happy, I want my kids happy. And at this stage of the game, that's not enough. That
Yes.
doesn't work.
Yes.
Because, the listeners, when I said that over all these years, I was able to try and sterilize what I like
Yes.
or what I don't
Yes.
like or what I want to do. You know what I mean? So now the cover's blown on all that, so I was like, what do I want to, you know what I mean? It's
Sure.
like, hey, yeah, I've always loved, we go to basketball games now.
Sure.
I've always loved basketball since I was a kid.
Yes.
I've always loved cars. I need to just
Lean
acknowledge
in.
that.
Yes,
You
and
know what I
lean into
mean?
those
I
things.
love, yeah. I'll st- I was gonna
Like,
say
what else?
I was gonna say I love ministry, but and I do,
Which we know.
I do,
Yes,
but
which we know.
it's I feel like that's a little different. You know what I
Yes,
mean? From
yes.
cars and
Yes,
basketball.
yes. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah, basketball
the
cars.
same. Yeah,
That's a little
yeah,
different.
yeah, but
but
still.
even with that,
Yes.
part of me being in this season, I have to now critically think about that.
Yes.
Because yes, I have a calling, but that calling is not the sum total of my life.
Sure. And what does ministry look like
Exactly.
in this season versus the last season?
Exactly. So, it's definitely forced us to have some real conversation. I know for you, because we've joked about, where we're going to live. And you like, I'm going to be wherever my daughters are spitting out babies, okay? And you are...
Because I am not going to be the summertime grandmother.
I am not going to be the summertime grandmother.
That was my thing. I'm not going to be the summertime grandmother.
You are locked in on that. And I think somebody listening or watching would love to hear you process that in real time. Meaning, are you on the runway waiting for takeoff, and that takeoff is going to be when they plant their flag in some region with the family, and you say, okay, now I'm taking off to be there? Like, are you wanting to just kind of be in limbo until then? Or, you know what I mean? Where are you at with that?
Now, So this is interesting because we have had this conversation
Yeah.
for many moons, and I will start by saying this: we are back living in Los Angeles, California, which is my childhood home, your home for the last 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
We never thought we would
That's
be
true.
living in Los Angeles, raising a
Shamo.
family in Los Angeles, or
Mm-hmm.
doing any of those
Yep.
things. So as I have said to you, I'm talking now with my 2025 framework and thought
Mm-hmm.
process and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. Who knows? What I do know is to be open to,
You
well,
talk
we got
about
it on
who
video.
knows. See,
And
who
I have
knows
said
what?
this.
Say, come on,
I
come
have
on, break
said
it
this.
down.
And in fact, when we were at lunch with our couple we love from Temecula, I have
Mm-hmm.
said this. I said, who knows ultimately what.
This is true.
Yeah, I was about to say, now I got some witnesses now. Hold up. Let me put a phone call through and get some. See, you got to
Mm-hmm.
have some witnesses for this brother. This brother will be acting like
Mm-hmm.
I'm making stuff up. We got to have some witnesses. So I
Mm-hmm.
will say to that question, I don't know, but
Okay.
here's the challenge in the thing, because you talked about, we started this conversation talking about emptiness in relation to what happened with the kids to get
Mm-hmm.
us there.
Yeah.
And that was interesting that we started there, because that's always our framework and our foundation. Even as we're working through this transition,
Yeah.
it's always, okay, now we can talk about this because we don't have to engage
Mm-hmm.
with our kids in the same way
Mm-hmm.
that we did. So I thought it was interesting that we started there, even though we're talking about what that transition means for us.
Yeah.
And then you morphed into, well, who am I
Mm-hmm.
outside of
Yeah.
being Winter and Willow's father, in the context that I know fatherhood, in the
Mm-hmm.
context that I know
Yeah.
motherhood,
Yeah.
from a child
Mm-hmm.
0 to 20, 21 years
Mm-hmm.
old.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very tough thing for me as a mom.
Mm.
That's a very tough thing.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the mother of girls, because there's that
Mm.
whole
Yeah.
connection, point of identification,
Mm-hmm.
and that has been on my name badge, my moniker. You can call me Winter and Willow's mom. For all of the Game of Thrones fans,
Mm-hmm.
my name is Jamila, the beautiful one, the first of her name, mother of Winter. Uh, you know,
Mm.
uh, all the
I'm not
things.
in. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For all the Game of
Yeah.
Thrones fans,
Yeah.
bring Rufus up to speed. He
Yeah.
missed
I'm
it.
not even on
He
that
missed that
phase,
whole
but
thing.
praise
He
the
knows nothing
Lord.
about Westeros. He knows nothing about that whole thing that I just said. But it
Mm.
was a whole identifier. He's like,
Uh-huh.
somebody will translate for you later.
Okay.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Right on.
It's
Right
okay.
on.
But there was a whole identification there
Mm-hmm.
with that being these girls' mom. And so as I have started to transition out of it, and I want to highlight that you said it has been a gradual process and a transition, and something I have been working on for a number of years through
Yes.
conversation with mentors, through
Mm-hmm.
conversation with my therapist. This is
Yeah.
something I've been working on. For everybody, that's not their testimony. For
Mm.
some people, it takes
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
like a cold glass of water when they have
What you
their
mean? Yeah.
when they have
Yeah.
their senior graduating from college. What you mean you're not coming back home? Like, for
Mm.
some people,
Mm.
that whole
Yeah.
process,
For
and
sure.
even preparing yourself for that process, is not something that's considered. And so I wanted to kind of pause and highlight some of the process that you
Yeah.
talked about, because it was a runway. It was a period of time. It was
Absolutely.
engaging with mentors and people that have been there.
Yeah.
It was talking to my therapist when I felt some kind of way, and why am I responding to my young adult being an adult? What do you mean I can't just say
Yeah.
something and
Yeah.
that's going to put the smack down? It's like,
Yeah.
you got an opinion?
Boy, do they.
And boy, do they, right? And so how
Mm-hmm.
do I engage with that? And then someone asked me over the years, like, what's your favorite car? I had a girlfriend of mine say, oh, I have this car, and it's my favorite car, and this is car I love to drive. And, well, what kind of car do you like? And I couldn't
Mm.
answer that. You talked
Yeah.
about cars. You're a car person.
Yeah.
I couldn't answer that, because every car that I have picked, selected
Mm-hmm.
for the majority of my adult life had the criteria: can strollers fit in the trunk?
Mm.
and I still get groceries in there. If I have to maneuver car seats, am I going to have to bend over or pull a seat up? Can I just
Yeah.
easily maneuver in and out with a car seat? Um, if I have my kids and their friends, do they have a place to sit?
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything, if you ask me what we like to eat or where you and I like to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy, what restaurants we like to go to, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
We know kid-friendly places
Yeah.
that
That's
our
true.
kids
That's true.
enjoy and
That's
places
true.
that we enjoy going as a family
Mm-hmm.
because, it's really been that unit. And even for our listeners, like, we don't begrudge any of that. Like, we talk about this season in our life and we're like, we only had the time period we had with them,
Yeah.
being in the stages of
In
life that
that,
they were
yeah.
in. And so it was time to be, 10 toes down
Mm-hmm.
for what they had going on in their schedules and their passions and all those things, because we only have so much time to nurture them in that capacity,
Yes.
with them being that age. But now it's like, for the first time, me asking myself those questions. And so part of that transition for me has been an exploratory conversation,
Yeah.
which has also been, how do I feel about this next 10 years and what that means for them? And that's why you mentioned grandkids. And I was like, oh my goodness, when you have a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old in the next 10 years, it's possible. Nobody's rushing anything, and really not rushing in 2025, let me be clear. Really not rushing anything, but it's possible we could be grandparents in the next 10 years. So not only are we preparing to transition out of this everyday parenting thing, but
Yeah.
then what does it look like, for us?
Mm-hmm.
We call it phase 3. What does it look like for us
Yeah.
in that phase 3 series, this a season of our life where we, potentially can be grandparents? And so I think when I talk on this podcast and when we talk in this forum, it's always not only talking about the what, but the how.
Mm.
And so I appreciated you sharing some of the hows where I started talking about it early.
Yeah. Yeah.
I started acknowledging my feelings, in real
Yeah.
time. You and I talking literally in our home on this podcast is part of our transition
That's true.
into empty nesting, because that means for an hour a week,
Yeah.
you and I sit down,
That's
look
right.
each other in the eye, and have a conversation. We haven't done that like literally since the 1900s,
Mm.
right? Because the busyness of life,
Yeah.
if we were to come home and not be recording
Mm-hmm.
today, we would be on our
Zipping.
devices,
Yeah.
zipping,
Working, doing
ironing
something.
clothes, getting ready
Yeah.
for the next day or doing whatever. So even like literally turning these mics on and
Yeah.
just sitting
That's
here
true.
is part of that, engagement that we have brought other people into.
Absolutely.
And then for you, as you think about it, because it was, well, what do we kind of do on the preparing our kids?
Mm-hmm.
Like one part of the three-legged stool, what did we do to prepare our marriage? And you talked about, hey, us getting season tickets to basketball games
Mm-hmm.
and us doing this podcast together. And our kids would check our location and we'll be at dinner on a Tuesday
Yeah.
night. And they'll be like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
And we'd be like,
Yeah.
mind your business,
That's
right?
right. That's
Because they're
right.
not used to us not being
That's
available to
true.
them
That's true.
24/7.
That's true.
And so doing things like that. And so some of those things are the ways that we've talked about engaging, and others we've talked on the podcast about going on trips together for the
Mm-hmm.
first time since our anniversary.
Yeah.
Since our honeymoon,
Mm-hmm.
rather, going for trips for the first time together alone, and not,
Yeah. Yeah.
inviting other people and parents and grands
Mm.
and aunts and uncles and all these folks. And like literally just, we're going to do it ourselves. So there's that impact on our marriage and what that means. But then you talked about your spirit man and getting your spirit man prepped
Mm-hmm.
for that season. And how do we cover our kids,
Yeah.
continue to be that sense of home for them,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where they might find themselves, being an anchor for them
Yeah.
spiritually in this next season.
Mm-hmm.
How do you envision that looking when they might not physically be under our roof, but we still want to work hard at maintaining, that sense of connection and that sense of home for them, even
Yeah.
if their physical home is somewhere else around the world?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's, and again, I don't want the audience to think like we got it all figured out or
No,
we're
this is
experts.
real
This
time.
is like
This is like literally
y'all,
processing in
we are
real time.
processing this
Yes.
thing in real
Yes,
time.
literal.
But you kind of throwing that out, and I've, talked with other dads, as well. And it's like sometimes you feel like you go from being dad to consultant dad.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Meaning that day-to-day instruction, that day-to-day direction and decision making, that's put in the ice box. But you'll have these kind of opportunities to share wisdom, share knowledge, do some critical thinking with them
Mhm.
at different snippets, right? So just leaning into that.
Mhm.
So I think that's one thing is, when you have those opportunities to really maximize those. And then I think another thing that you do is, as you're watching your children move into all these different arenas, be thinking about the lessons and the wisdom they need in the moments.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, let me game you up on something that you may or may
Mhm.
not encounter,
Mhm.
or, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking about it's got to be a 3 or 4 hour conversation.
Sure.
It can just be timely advice,
Mhm.
to help them. Oh, wow. Let me think about this a little bit different, because where they're going because we've
Sure.
both been, 21 and
Sure.
17. And sometimes, especially as a dad, it's like, dang, did I teach them everything? Even the book thing. Remember, within the last
Mhm.
years, I was like, girl, why don't you read this? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Why don't you read
Yes.
that? Because again,
Yes.
you feel like I've ran out of time of having that day to day
Mhm.
opportunity to train, to teach, to impart. So now it's like, I know you need to get a hold of this.
Mhm.
Why don't you, kind of lean into that? You know what I mean? So it's and I think the bigger conversation, and maybe this is a separate podcast, because
Opening
you
up a
know,
can of worms,
yeah.
huh?
But one of the conversations I'm having, with one of my close friends that, has kids in the same kind of
Mhm.
age bracket is, we're lamenting this, oh man, this foursome.
Mhm.
And I'm like, bro, we gotta lament, we gotta process it, but please understand your four may become eight.
Mhm.
Your eight may become 12. In other words, our kids, will create their own families. And
Yes.
then, so part of this season for us is preparing to father and cover more. You know what I mean? Because again, you don't know what leadership your
Mhm.
grandchild is going to need. You don't
Mhm.
know, what your sons-in-law may need, and that's what we're believing,
Yes.
literally. So,
Yes.
so some of that is starting to click. And I'm like, wow, I need to have bandwidth and capacity to provide leadership,
Mhm.
to a growing family,
Mhm.
provide leadership to kids. No, I ain't birthing, but I may
Sure.
be needed, provide coverage, to provide leadership, to provide access and game, and
Mhm.
maybe even networking. So my wheels are turning in that direction as well, because that's going to impact, just we got to take care of ourselves. And we
Sure.
talk about that all the time. It's
Sure.
like we know parents that are older than us that life is happening to their kids
Sure.
and they're standing in the gap. They went from I'm phase 3, I'm at the
Yep.
spa, I'm chilling to something happening. It's like, ooh, I'm back on day to day,
Yep.
boots on the ground,
Yep.
parental support
Yep.
for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
to be able to do that, you need to have yourself together, so that you can put that super mommy cape on in a moment's notice. So I think that's the other part of phase 3 is like, yeah, we want to do our thing, but we also want to be a parental resource to
Yes.
support
Have the
the
capacity to
things
do so
that
if
our
needed.
children and unborn grandchildren, want to do.
And have that capacity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And looking at that and utilizing mentors and people that we've talked to and people that have walked,
Yeah.
the way, that have kids 10 years older than us, that have children our own age, because
Yeah.
we happen to have several
Yeah.
people in our life that have children our own age,
Yeah.
and talk about what that's like. I think one of the biggest revelations is that the nest is never, quote unquote, empty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think that might not even be the best term. I think we're trying to describe a season that you're not in that day-to-day parenting.
Yeah.
But even as you were talking, I was like, yes, most people I know had to expand that capacity, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
and certainly have had to have ebbs and flows of seasons where they needed to step in and
Yeah.
be more
Absolutely.
active.
Absolutely.
And so I think for us, the biggest thing is that we wanted our children to have the choice, the options,
Yeah.
and the capability
Absolutely.
to go after what they desire to go after, with the full knowledge and
Yeah.
understanding that whatever resource
Yeah.
they need from us, they gonna get from us.
Absolutely.
Audience, full disclosure, our oldest daughter moved out at 9:00 a.m. on a Saturday. By 12 noon, we was at the dump, throwing away everything she left in that bedroom. By 3:00, California Closets was in there, measuring out the bedroom to
Yeah.
turn the bedroom into a closet. That's one
Mhm.
thing we got some flack for, right?
Yeah. Oh
Some folks was
yeah.
like,
Oh
wait a
yeah. Oh
minute,
yeah. How you going?
your baby
Yeah.
can't come home? Number one, that good baby got an apartment in downtown Los Angeles. She all right. That's number
And we
one.
still got a guest room.
No, number
So
two, we still got a
yeah.
guest room. And
Yeah.
number three, everything in there can be pulled out as
Oh, of
quickly
course.
as
Of
it was
course.
put in there,
Of
right?
course. Of
And
course.
so it was always our posture that we are going to live with the assumption also that they got it, and
Well, yeah.
and that they gonna make different decisions. Or daddy, you feeling some kind of way? Jump in. you feeling
Well,
differently.
you
This is what
know.
happens when you got girls versus boys. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah.
Like,
I
not my
think
babies.
I think the oldest was very clear on her desire,
Yes.
to do
Yes.
her own thing.
Yes. 100%.
So we don't know, how the youngest is going to be. She made that
She
very
probably will never
clear.
leave.
So
Yeah.
I feel like
the youngest probably will never leave.
the closet was in response to stated desires.
Yeah.
So, which is, so that's all I'm
Yes.
saying. That's why I was
Yes.
responding.
Yes, but we
You know
caught
what
a
I
lot
mean?
we caught some flack for that. Like,
Yeah.
well, what you mean?
Yeah.
As if we had kicked her out.
Yeah. No.
It's like,
no.
no.
Yeah.
She's fine,
Yeah.
right? She's doing what she desires to do.
Absolutely.
She's set up to be able to support
Absolutely.
living
She came
that
home
life.
with somebody one summer. So no, we have been highly supportive.
We
Praise
have
the
been
Lord.
totally highly supportive.
Praise the Lord.
We've
Praise the
been
Lord.
totally highly supportive.
We better land the plane before we get in trouble on this episode. We starting to get into the nitty gritty.
You like, and so what else did you do?
Yeah.
So in terms of landing the plane,
Yeah.
I talked earlier about folks that might have just started thinking about this for the first time
Yeah.
and not, having this gradual plan and this scaffold,
Yeah.
approach to this.
Yeah.
And literally, it's like, thank you, Jesus. Like, this was the Holy Ghost that led us in that. Because I don't think I recall people talking about in our parenting handbook, like, oh, somewhere around them getting to
No,
be a particular
yeah.
age,
Yeah.
you should start to work on,
Yeah.
transitioning them out. I
Yeah.
feel like this conversation is one that maybe our generation of parents are having for the first time. I don't recall that being, when you have kids, you make sure, that they're fed and
Yeah.
clothed and they become good people
Yeah.
and they're educated, and then you figure out what you're going to do with your marriage and your life
Mm-hmm.
afterwards.
Yeah.
No, that was not
That's true.
not in the handbook.
That's true.
So for people who have not had that gradual approach to preparing for the transition of being an empty nester, and are like, you know what, I didn't do none of that. I don't have no mentors. I don't, I
Mm.
didn't start thinking about it. It really caught me by surprise. I didn't realize I was going to have these feelings and
Mm-hmm.
emotions. What advice, encouragement, what would you say to someone that's found themselves here, but they're just starting?
Yeah, and I think a couple things, and everybody's situation is different.
Everybody's different. Yeah.
We got some single parents,
Yes.
that are watching. We have some unmarried fathers and
Yeah,
mothers that are
sure. Blended and
watching.
blended families.
Then we have some, married husbands and wives that are watching. So I feel like every situation is different, and I think it goes back to, one of my mantras for this year, self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Being self-aware, so that means really trying to process your thoughts and emotions in a healthy manner so
Mm-hmm.
that you understand what you feel and why you feel what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think secondly, and this is something that some advice was given to me indirectly, by a close friend, is, having some family meetings as the kids matriculate,
Mm-hmm.
checking in, what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about what's going on,
Sure.
as a family, and giving them the opportunity to express themselves and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, wow, that's really a good thing to do, especially as people are transitioning to different places and different positions and this, that, and the other, but creating that family meeting at some frequency. So the
Mm-hmm.
the friend that gave me the advice, we were talking about, he was talking about, some of the vacationing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
They do these you know, real talk, adult
Yes.
talk check-ins.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that's so wise. So, I
Yes.
would definitely encourage, listeners to be able to do that. And I think us as parents, we have to be able to have healthy dialogue with our children at different levels and stages of their maturity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So again, the talking at them, you may have been able to do that in one season, but
Sure.
then talking with them, you could do it another season. And then the consultancy parenting thing, that's another season. And then as they start making relationship decisions, then you had to be wise on how
Mm-hmm.
to, you know what I mean, be able to speak into them, and all of
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So I think, that's the advice, and again, if you're unable
Mm-hmm.
to process your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and understand the why, then yeah, you may need someone to help you do that. But if you
Mm-hmm.
can do that, that's a great start.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can start engaging in conversation, with your child or children. And I really think about parents of single children,
Mm-hmm.
when they have one
Yeah,
child. I
that's
mean,
another
that
dynamic
can
too.
be a
Yes.
more aggressive empty nest thing.
Sure.
And because you're in some of the chats in these colleges, these parents are talking
Yes.
about what's on the syllabus. And,
Yes.
it's like, well, hold
Yes.
on now. You guys are kind of
Yes.
over parenting here,
Right.
and they're talking about, parents are now helping their kids and their performance evaluation.
Equations at
Just
job on their
yeah,
job. Yeah.
so
It is.
so again,
Yes.
there's a need for some healthy acknowledgement.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's all I would say. That's all I would
Yes,
say.
yes. No, but that's very helpful,
Hmm.
and very helpful in terms of preparing us as a couple to continue to think
Yeah.
about that transition, because like you said, this is a real-time conversation
Yeah.
for us, and to help the listeners as well. For those of you that are preparing for that transition, are in the transition,
Hmm.
because this is a real life conversation in real time, we invite you in the chat
That's
to
right.
drop your feedback, to drop your questions. And even if you have great things that have worked for your family, of all different family
Yeah.
types, this is a great place for us to have this
Hmm.
discussion, because this is not that we have anything in life figured out.
Yeah.
But this is certainly something for us that we're processing in real time. And then our very good lifelong friend that suggested us to have this conversation is
Yeah.
also like
Yeah.
very real
He in the turn
time
with us. Yeah.
in
Him
the
and his wife
turn.
in the turn with
So
us.
this
Yeah.
has been a great
Absolutely.
conversation and great discussion.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So with that, y'all, we're going to sign off. We just want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of With Love, the Chambers. Do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, drop us a comment, send us a DM, because we want to engage with you as much as possible on this With Love journey that we are all on together. So we're going to
Yes.
sign off, and we're going to see you again next time.
This episode of With Love, the Chambers is proudly sponsored by the Watts of Power Foundation, where passion and purpose come together to empower the next generation. In the heart of Los Angeles, one foundation is changing the future of education. The Watts of Power Foundation, founded by Dr. Peter Watts Jr., is on a mission to raise up the next generation of Black male educators, building strong teachers, strong families, and strong communities. Through mentorship, housing, and holistic support, Watts of Power is lighting the path toward equity in education. Visit wattsofpowerfoundation.org to learn how you can help power the change. The Watts of Power Foundation, where teaching meets transformation. A big thank you to Watts of Power for supporting this episode of With Love, the Chambers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of With Love, the Chambers.
We hope you laughed, learned, and felt encouraged along the way.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs a little love and wisdom today.
You can also connect with us online on all social media platforms at Rufus Chambers Online and at Jamila Chambers. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time,
Keep living, keep laughing, and keep learning with love, the Chambers.